This is Carl with the Breaks Music Show, and on this episode we have an interview with Los Angeles-based space pop artist Whitney Tai. We'll have Whitney's interview with Ed Steele right after this.
Hi there, I want to let you know about an exciting podcast called The Breaks Music Show. So what is The Breaks Music Show? The Breaks Music Show is America's most informative new radio show highlighting the world's best unsigned artists. Be sure to find us on your favorite podcast platform as well as YouTube, Rumble, Twitter and more. Remember, every Friday is when you can hear interviews and music from 3 of the best unsigned artists in the world. The Breaks Music Show is a Grebo Inc. production.
It's the Breaks Music Show. Welcome. And today we're talking with Whitney Tai. She is joining us from Los Angeles, California. And Whitney, welcome to the show.
Hello, Ed. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure to be on the Breaks.
I've been looking forward to this. Our producer, Carl, said he was going to book you a couple of weeks ago. And I did a little, what I want to say, reconnaissance, if you will. And you seem to have a very, very broad repertoire. Can you tell the audience more about what all is involved with Whitney Tai?
Well, I would say from the sense of being broad, I just have a lot of musical influences. I grew up listening to, heavy metal, rock and roll, blues, soul, pop music. So when it comes to my creation of music, I feel like it's such a blend of all the things that have inspired me through the years. So I would say like maybe dream pop or alternative pop is the sound that it's kind of been described as very cinematic, very lush. It's a lot of fun to be in that process too, just because I can use all those eclectic influences to craft my sound.
And I like how you use the word eclectic there. I was listening to some of your music last night, and I mean, you got some in-your-face stuff, and then you kind of have some ballad stuff. I mean, did you have classical training when you were growing up? How does that work?
Actually, no, I did not have classical training, but however, I do have a fond appreciation and love of classical music. I've been listening to classical scores and classical pieces my entire life, and I feel that a lot of the time, even when I want to reset myself as just like a songwriter or even a listener, I always go back to all the classical pieces because I find within there, you've got heavy metal, you've got soul, you've got rock, everything exists in classical music. So for me, it's like the ultimate like brain food. So it's kind of like my nourishment.
So how old were you when you realized this is what you want to do with your life?
Well, my parents always said I was singing from when I was really small. So I think it's just kind of, I grew into it and always knew that it was my path. But I would say the first time was when I wrote my first song at like 8 years old.
Wow, that's amazing. We'll touch more on that songwriting capability here in a little bit. It's Whitney Tai. This is her song Starfish on the Breaks Music Show.
I guess I like the twisted
It's the Breaks Music Show with Ed Steele, and we're talking with Whitney Tai, all the way from L.A., and she's joining us in the studio. She's got a brand new album out. And Whitney, can you tell us more about the album? How many cuts are on there, and what inspired you to make this album?
Wow. Apogee was kind of the result of, actually, it was the result of dealing with just a really big change in my life. I had a dream one night, and it was very visual and vivid, and it like kind of never left me. And I had this dream that I was like floating in space, and I was reflecting back on all the things in my life that had caused me trauma and pain and suffering. And I just made this decision where I was like, I don't want to live there anymore. I don't want to harbor within those feelings. I don't want them to control me or dictate like my future actions. Like I want to hold myself accountable to change and move on with my life after being through so much shit. So it's just like I had this dream that I was floating around and I was looking down at Earth, and I was just, all I could hear was my heartbeat, and all I could hear was my breath. And that in that moment I realized that that was the only thing that mattered. That those very simple things that we take for granted. The Apogee has 10 tracks. There was originally supposed to be 12, but I'm holding off a couple of tracks for the future. And it's, you asked me how many tracks, what was it about, and what was the other question?
I mean, what inspired you to create this album? I mean, how long has it been in the making?
Well, it took 2 years from start to finish, and I wanted it to be like a direct reflection of different periods of my life and how I was growing. And since it is an album of growth and reflection, I felt that it needed like adequate time to like evolve itself to where it needed to be. And I wasn't really in any rush. I had just moved out to LA. I was starting to write the tracks, and I was like starting a new band, and I was trying to find my sound, currently in like that 2018 mindset, like where am I going and what do I want this to be? And I kind of grew into the songs too. They became part of me and part of my performances, and then at some point they evolved into what they are now. And so playing out live a lot in the scene really helped me discover not only what Apogee meant, but like why I wrote it in the first place, which was, again, to deal with trauma.
It's the Breaks Music Show with Whitney Tai, and here's another song from the album Apogee. It's Righteous on the Breaks Music Show.
Righteous to believe in a cause that despite us
It's the Breaks Music Show with Ed Steele, and today we're talking with Whitney Tai, and we will have more stuff from her in just a moment.
Hey everyone, Nikki Young here, host of the international true crime podcast, Serial Napper. Let me guide you through some of the craziest true crime stories you've never heard of. Add in a dash of creepy, spooky, and weird, and you've got Serial Napper. I cover a new case each week, some of them unsolved, so I also host a monthly chat where we go through the evidence, the suspects, and theories. You don't want to miss this. Serial Napper is available on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
It's the Breaks Music Show, and in studio tonight we have Whitney Tai, all the way from L.A. And Whitney, we were talking just a couple of minutes ago about the new album Apogee, and tell us more about your band that you have backing you on that album.
Well, it's a really interesting story because before I moved to LA, I was already kind of putting my feelers out for putting the right humans together to be part of this project. And just when I moved here, I had gotten some interest from this amazing drummer. His name's Matt. And you know, when we first started the band, we had our guitarist Andrew on board, but he's kind of moved, so he's not in the project now. But he's been my guitarist for the last 2 years now. So after quarantine, we kind of decided we were going to, relook at how we want the live experience to be. Tim Janssens, my producer, he plays keys in the band also, and we have Megan Rask, who is my bass player. We've worked with a few bass players since we've also been out here, and it's very interesting finding the people that really kind of infuse you with the energy and who start to like take on the personality of the music. So like it's been just really cool to play with such amazing musicians out here and be immersed in the scene and seeing how the scene informs you and how you inform the scene. And it's like this constant dialogue between you and your songs and the crowd. And I've luckily found like my unit now. I've got my few peeps that I really love playing with, and they really do bring me joy on stage, and they've been playing live with me since I moved out here. So it's a great dynamic, and they've played on the record as well, so you'll hear them on the record too.
All right. Now, songwriting, we touched a little before the interview here. You write a lot of songs. How many of the songs did you write on the album Apogee?
I write all the songs on my albums in combination with Tim Janssens, my producer. He co-writes with me as well. There's a couple of tracks on Apogee that some of my bandmates have co-written on as well. So it's been cool to also write with just different people, and I have everyone has their own style of writing, and then when you put everybody in a room together, it's really interesting what you create when you're not in your own kind of one-on-one writing session. But yeah, I've written on Metamorphosis, my first record, as well as Apogee.
It's the Breaks Music Show. We're talking with Whitney Tai, and here is her song Surrender.
Just tiny particles burning out over the sea. Swim for me, swim, swim to me, and leave your troubles back at shore. How does it feel? Straddling the line, always gambling your time. How does it feel? Never giving in while your time is wearing thin. Oh, how does it feel? To testify, this is my surrender. This is my surrender. This is my surrender to the powers that be, always talking to me. This is my surrender.
It's the Breaks Music Show. Tonight we're talking with Whitney Tai, and well, we're about out of time, Whitney, but before you go, first of all, I want to say thank you very much for, being part of the Breaks Music Show tonight. And my other question, how can people find you? How can they go listen to your music? How can they get in contact with you on social media? Can you give us all those links?
Yes, actually, you can find me on whitneytaimusic.com. There's links to all of my websites through my main website, but I'm also at most platforms at Whitney Tai, so you can find me on any of those platforms.
Sounds good. Whitney Tai on the Breaks Music Show, and we will be back with more right after this.
Hi there, I want to let you know about an exciting podcast called The Breaks Music Show. So what is The Breaks Music Show? The Breaks Music Show is America's most informative new radio show highlighting the world's best unsigned artists. Be sure to find us on your favorite podcast platform as well as YouTube, Rumble, Twitter and more. Remember, every Friday is when you can hear interviews and music from 3 of the best unsigned artists in the world. The Breaks Music Show is a Grebo Inc. production.
Calling all unsigned independent bands and musicians. The Breaks Music Show is looking for you to be on our show. The Breaks Music Show is a new podcast that features one artist each week in their own 20-minute interview segment with 3 of their songs played on air. Hosted by yours truly, Ed Steele. The Breaks Music Show is positioned to be the best podcast for unsigned artists worldwide. To be considered for the Breaks Music Show, go to breaksmusicshow.com. Click on the Give Me a Break tab and complete the application. Also, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and subscribe to our social media channels and mailing list. The Breaks Music Show is a Grebo Inc. production.